Hi, so I'm Kat, the tarot artista, and I do private readings, and I'm a phone psychic. I do other things too, but mostly I'm starting this series about learning how to use the tarot cards and the different cards and their meanings. So this is the first video in a series. It's going to be a 79 card series because there are 78 cards in the traditional Rider Waite deck, but I'm going to be comparing the Rider Waite to a couple other decks. So if you're not familiar, the Rider Waite is the traditional tarot card deck that most other decks are modeled off of. So you'll notice the similarities as I go through and I do this comparison. This was created about 150 years ago. Then I'm going to be comparing it to the Fountain, which was released last year. Kind of cool, metallic, contemporary deck that I really like because I feel like it really touches on the shift in consciousness that's happening in humanity with the people who are really working on trying to come into alignment. I'm also going to be comparing that with the StarChild deck, which I would say is even a more advanced deck for people who are very conscious of the fact that they're on this spiritual journey. So we'll be going over how the cards are similar and different. First, I'll start off with the Fool card. And as you can see, the Fool is the beginning of the spiritual journey. He's the first of the major arcana cards, and he represents the beginning of the spiritual journey. So if you get the Fool upright in a tarot card read, it represents the energy of like this new beginning, this new journey, and kind of being blindly oblivious to the potential obstacles that might come along one's path. As you can see, he might walk off the bridge. Now, if you were to run across the Fool card reversed, that would mean that you're no longer listening to your heart or your inner guidance, but rather being influenced by the external world. The Fool is still a novice. He's at the very beginning of, or he or she is at the very beginning of their spiritual journey and should listen to the wisdom of elders that they trust. If they're reversed, maybe they are not taking good advice, or again, they're letting the outside world affect them aversely. Okay, so the Fountain is the deck that I use the most right now. It's a super contemporary deck. All the images of the people are very realistic, very contemporary. As you can see, the Fool is dancing across these, looks like glaciers of ice, just having fun, unaware that he's up really high and could potentially fall between the cracks. So in this deck, the Fool represents when we start to understand that there's the material world that we're all very conscious of and invested in, but there's also a spiritual dimension. So the Fool is this energy of this awareness that there are kind of two different worlds that we're interacting with. And if this was reversed, that would mean that one is like falling out of alignment, not paying attention. Now, this deck particularly notes that the card is connected with the inner child, or actually, I think that is the next card. So in the StarChild deck, they recognize that the Fool represents our inner child. So if you've studied shadow work, and even contemporary psychology, a lot of our trauma or the bad things that happen in our life are often mirrors of our childhood traumas that we still have to heal so that we can heal ourselves and then learn to help heal others. So the Starseed card, so she's not even called the Fool in this deck, is more evolved. She is aware of the fact that she's reincarnated multiple times, and that she's beginning this spiritual journey, and that the spiritual journey involves healing first the inner child. So let me check through my notes to see if I had any other points that I wanted to summarize about the difference between the decks. Oh, yes. Okay, so the Starseed, if you're at the Fool stage in the Starseed deck, your life is the spiritual and the material world are gonna start mixing for you. So there'll be a lot of serendipity, maybe things start to like kind of seem magical. Yeah, whereas in the Rider Waite, they don't really talk about that so much. More that the Fool is like the beginning stage of the spiritual journey. And if it's reversed, that there could be apathy, bad influences, naivety, not really thinking clearly about how to best go about making progress in a situation. So that is the first series of these videos comparing the different decks. I hope that you enjoy as I go through and introduce all the other cards. So yeah, eventually it'll be 72 cards. Or no, 79 cards, because the StarChild, the last card is the Akashic, for the Akashic records. And then the Fountain has the Infinity card as their 79th card. So I'll have to look at those also to let you know the differences. Okay, bye.